Hey guys, come here. Welcome back to Langrisser M news from the future, and it is for the month of May 2025 to June 2025 from the CN7 news and info. And on this month's banner, presenting to you two heroes. One is a hero and one is a heroine. So yep, are you guys ready for part one? And the usual stuff. Video is divided into three parts. First part we're going through on backstory, voice actor, actress of the characters, voice pack. Part two we're going to characters, factions, skills, 3C, followed by the last part where we'll be talking about characters, item build, skills, pros and cons. Are you guys ready? Here we go. So alright, very great thanks before we carry on to the Langrisser mobile app, for all the latest informations. And as you're looking at right now, currently this is the hero release for this month's banner. So the first part will be Elvis, and a quick banner spoiler alert, I guess, is the name for this banner. Two of the heroes, I guess it's a hint based on the Japanese pronunciations, EL or E and also L are good characters, and not to mention with the usual urban legend characters with such alphabetical opening to their name are strong characters. So part one will be Elvis and part two will be Leia, and both of them are strongly related to these characters' actions. So, and if you found this guy looking quite familiar and you might have seen him in the story or perhaps in certain characters' Gate of Fate, yep, you're right. He is Elvis, none other than the elder brother of Ashen's and also the fiancé of Tavares. Yep, pretty cool looking armor, some sort of, well, I'll say chaos form, light and darkness, and that's pretty cool. So, alright, and Elvis is voiced by none other than Mr. Ken Ito or Ito Ken, depending on how I'll look at the naming. But yep, the below are some of the famous works he has done recently. On the left, it's Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, and on the right is Oshinoko, and well, sorry about it, none of which I have watched the works, so not familiar about the work. Then alright, we shall skip that and go to the backstories for Elvis. So some of you who have already played the latest story or chapters thus far in your respective servers, you should already know he is dead originally in the stories. That's why it's causing a lot of turmoil in the country, a lot of chaos, civil battles in the kingdom of Tavares, and also for the fallout of Tavares with the kingdom itself. So let's find out a little more if this is a real Elvis or not. So right, so some of the translations here might be wrong, so bear with me. I'll give some loose translations. Alright, so from the first line it says, when the darkness Pegasus fallen into the cage of flesh blood, fresh blood. And the golden blade has been infested with lies. The life that once belongs to Elvis has come to a close. So this is the first two lines. The third line. So third line is from here onward. The royalty of the kingdom's betrayer, the heresy's leader, the words of unfairness and evaluations echoes at the age of his year. This has caused the once forgotten will of fate to turn again. Okay, fourth line. The broken souls is reborn in the form of a monster. But the will that belongs to Elvis has not been lost. Okay, fifth line. Oops. At this moment, he will attempt to salvage all in his second chance of life. And last line, spoiler alert. Even if he's coming back as the Eradicator. So alright, the last line is 哪怕以清除者. So 清除者 are those, I think it's either the cleanser or Eradicator or Apostle, that the soulless white yellowish enemy that we have saw in Echo of Toy War, that our heroes and heroines has been fighting sometimes throughout the game. They are known as the being that's going to bring the end to the world. So this form of Elvis is a comeback of that being, but with the mind, the human mind of Elvis. So this kind of gives me the feeling like he is very striking, similar to Fraxinus, the elder brother of Iris, you know, the centaur lady. Yep, the original supposedly boyfriend to be of Silicons. Yep. Okay, this is backstory. So quick summarize again. So the long story short, it means when the Dark Pegasus has fallen into the prison cage of fresh blood, the golden blade has been infested with lies. The life that once belongs to Elvis has come to the end. The royalty that betrayed the kingdom, the leader of the heresy, all these sharp words of unfairness and evaluations echo around his ears. But this has also caused the once forgotten and buried will of fate to start turning. The broken soul has now been reborn in the form of a monster. But the will that belongs to Elvis has not been erased. At this moment, he decides to make use of his second chance of life to save and salvage all. Even if he comes with the forms of the Eradicator. So okay, this is like a more summarized version, and of course you can sub the word with Eradicator with Cleansers or the Apostle, the being in the game, because I've been more of playing the game with the Chinese subtitle. So yep, I kind of forget about the English name, but yep, this is about Elvis and characters he shared backstory with. As you can see, these two characters, Ashen and Taberry. So with Ashen first. Okay, so quick text here written here is: after the death of the king and the disappearance of the prince, while facing the war against the empire, Ashen has to take on the responsibility as the leader of the kingdom. After reviving, Elvis realized he has no right, or he has no face to face his close ones directly. But the bond of bloodlines led him to linger his thoughts about his younger sister. After Leia bringing news of Ashen's, he decided to use his own methods to stop this unending war. Okay, so based on the text, it seems Leia knows that Elvis is still alive, but he knows that he's come back as this, unholy form or unhuman form. So he's fear of facing his sister. While everyone thought he's a traitor, etc., and now all the responsibilities rest on Ashen. I feel that maybe his thought is that if he's come back at this point of time, it feels like maybe he's trying to come back for a power struggle with his sister, and also in this form it's going to cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. Of course, that's my thought. And the last part written here is a speech from him towards his sister. Ashen, my dearest sister that I ever loved and thought on most, please take care of everything on Saberic on behalf of me. So yep, since Ashen kind of become the queen or ruler of Saberic, based on the first part of the story, we know, well, his brother do not want to come and interfere. I mean, that's my thought. Alright, I'm more interested about story with Tavares. Okay. As fiancé of Tavares, of Elvis, sorry. Tavares has become the leader after his accidental death, leading Amusost, the the team, the rebel that opposed controlling of the kingdom from the church with conspiracy, to the point that she even willingly worked hand in hand with the empire side. But after knowing that the person she loved may still survive in the world, Tavares traveled with her old comrades to the old ruins, but only to find out that the once leader that handsome royalty has already become the being that they has once swore to eradicate. Okay, the last part, words from Elvis is truth or lies. We walk on a path that seems or look as if they are opposite. Tabaris. May we wish we will be on the same path. Okay, so this last part I may not done a proper. I'm not able to give like a proper translations, but it's more or less there. It's kind of like the path of returns. Okay, so this is something about just small notes and story about Tabaris and action with Elvis. This is not that important. Of course, now we're going to the part 2, and okay, before that, this is art by Marcel Tuliana Granda Corey of the chibi art for Elvis. Sorry. Before we go to part 2, this is the voice pack of Elvis. Here we go.
闇夜の先にたとえ死が待っていてもこの歩みを止めることはない闇夜の先にたとえ死が待っていてもこの歩みを止めることはない
So sorry, I gotta adjust the volume because I'm using some new device. Okay, what he's saying is, when walking alone in the darkness, even in death, do not stop your movement or do not stop your footstep. I guess in a way it's trying to say even in the face of darkness, or when even traveling alone in the path of darkness, even in death, do not stop down your footsteps, like not giving up. I suppose that's what it's trying to mean. But what did you guys think? If you have other thoughts, do leave it down in the comment sections below. And of course, we have come to the end of part 1, and now we're going to part 2. Here we go. Alright, welcome back to part 2. Sorry that part 1 took quite a little while. I was trying to think of a new way to come in and introduce for the part 1 of the characters, but well, it took longer than usual. Sorry about it. And of course, part 2, things you guys interested in most, translations or loose translations of the skills effect, and watch to the end for the translations I've done for you guys at the end. Then, in case you're wondering, these banners, this month's banners, how they work and how strong they are, the current evaluations by the pro players thus far, they are ranged between tier 1 to tier 0.5. So Elvis, it's a single target strong fighter characters of single target combat or assassin type heroes, while layout on part 2 will be more towards AoE fighting styles. So alright, here we go. Okay, a little more backstories about Elvis, but definitely kind of repeat of the original literations, but with some changes. So it says, When the holy sacred blade has been polluted by lies, when the wings of rebellion has been defeated and fallen, the life that once belongs to the young royalty has come to a closure. However, with the lingering thoughts to his close and loved ones, and unwillingness to resign to fate has led this shattered, broken soul to be reborn as a form or in the form of a monster. Even while walking towards the border of death or the realm of death, the will of Elvis has never been changed. He swore to use the sharp blade that he holds on his hand to protect the golden kingdom of his memories. So, okay, some slight alterations of the backstory from early on, but that's it. And overall, I gotta say, this month's banner for both Elvis and Leia, not only are they considered top tier heroes and heroines, their skills, abilities are, well, not too hard to understand. So if your characters or players who do not like long text heroes with different styles and functionality, perhaps Elvis and Leia might be the heroes and heroines for you. Ta-da! Alright, so for Elvis, he is from the following three factions: Glory of Light, Darkness, and Meteor. So his coming strong, 2 out of 3 faction buff. Glory of Light 3C, you can get it from LLR Kreese, aka the Bright Summoner. Darkness, we have Slayer for her 3C Darkness faction, and more to come. The Meteor 3C faction buff has not yet been released, so stay tuned, guys. And as you can see, this is his talent. His talent seems to be shorter, so definitely short, sweet. And not sure if you guys have seen or noticed about this. The background is white instead of black. I have recently done some changes, so hopefully this is better for viewing for all of you viewers out there. Alright, and without further delay, part 2 of talents, skills, and 3C. So talent is loosely translated as deceased abyss of sins or sins of the dead. The effect are as follows. Number 1, increase attack by 25%. Number 2, when you enter, if you are in danger zone, you will gain the buff effect known as you'll gain this buff that provides you when you initiate attack, ignore guard. Number 3, when you enter, if you are in danger zone, you will gain the buff Death Deed. We'll call it DD in short. DD has the following effect. First, Elvis will be unable to be target for attack and skills from enemies. Second, the effect will be removed when you either receive damage or initiate attack and goes into battle. Third, you will be able to act again and buff turn will not be reduced. Fourth, whole effect cannot be dispelled and lasts for 1 turn. And do note that Act Again from talent effect can only be triggered once per turn, whereas both buff effect of DD and when you initiate attack Ignore God will enter a CD of 2 turns upon trigger. So sorry for the interruptions. The weather is getting, well, raining, as you can hear. If you're able to hear some lightning strike sound from backgrounds, yep, the weather is about to rain, so sorry for the disruptions if there is any. So overall, long story short, he is an upgraded version of Epsilon from the Langrisser second story. If you guys remember, the man-made characters, Epsilon, the second Meteor faction buffer of the game. So he can cast faction buff, and he also can cause himself to be invisible, one of the skills. So Elvis has such similarities with the inbuilt of attack increment. The only downside is he do not have faction buff. So yep, he's not a faction buffer. So he's not directly a tier 0 characters yet. Alright, so repeat again, re-summarize again. His Elvis has an inbuilt characteristics of attack increment of 25%. And number 2 is as long as he enters in a danger zone, so within enemies hit range, he will gain 2 types of buff. One buff allows him to ignore guard when he strikes an attack. And number 3 is when he enters and if he's in the danger zone, he will gain the buff Death Deeds. So the Death Deeds makes him untargetable for both attacks and skills for enemies. However, upon initiating attack and goes into battle with the enemies, or when he receives damage, this effect will be removed. Then he will be able to act again, and the buff will not be reduced. So this whole effect cannot be dispelled and lasts for 1 turn. And upon triggering, they will enter the 2-turn CD. So we'll find out more during the actual demo play. Sorry, he's not too long. He only have 2 exclusive skills. Exclusive skill 1, as you can see right now, again, is a very short skill, and his only passive is known as Soul Eater's Contract. So it's a 1C skill, a CD, range, and AoE type unknown. The passive effect are as follow. After you initiate attack and kill an enemy, the following effect will happen. Number 1, recover 50% of your unit's HP. Number 2, obtain 3 dispellable buff effects from the enemy. So that's all. Let us quick replay it again. Number 1, after so there's a cause and effect before the there's a cause before this thing happen is after you initiate attack and you kill the target enemy, the following then will happen. 1 is you will recover 50% of your unit's HP. Then number 2 is you will obtain 3 dispellable buff from the target enemy. So it's pretty, definitely it has pros and cons. The pros and cons lies with number 1 is you recover 50% of your unit's HP, so it's not based on damage deal. Pros is if you're not able to do a lot of damage to enemies, even despite you manage to kill off the target enemy, you get to heal back 50% of your HP. Of course, there will be downside scenario when 50% HP recovery may not be enough, and instead getting certain percentage of damage deal might in that event heal back 100% of your life. But the second effect, the best part is even if you manage to kill the enemy, you can still obtain 3 dispellable buff from the target even if they die. So this, correct me if I'm wrong, this is like the first ever case we have seen in the Langrisser game after so long. And moving to exclusive skill 2. Okay, is alright, so well, the rain is kind of big. I'm switched to another place. Hopefully the drizzling sound will be dimmer. So alright, exclusive skill 2, so breaking slash 2C CD2 range 2 blocks AoE type single target. So the effect as follows, pretty straightforward. Number 1, attack and deal 1.5 times damage to target enemy. Number 2, after battle, cause target enemy to not able to use active skills for 2 turns. 3, if this attack is not being got, you will cause stun debuff effect to enemy before battle for 1 turn. Number 4, close combat soldiers unit will attack together when you use this range skill and will not receive close combat penalty. So this is his own form of air slash. So soul breaking slash 1.5 times damage. Of course, it's a stronger version of air slash because after battle, so let's say if the target survive, you will still cause a silent debuff towards the enemy for 2 turns. Then third is, if this attack is not being got, you will cause stun debuff effect to the enemy before the battle for 1 turn. So you definitely will be able to trigger this very easily from his talent effect. Then not to mention, whether you are doing close combat or range attack, the soldiers will attack together with you, and for range you will not receive penalty. So there's a pretty decent skills. And as of the current meta or release accessories or items, there is no items that prevent both silent and stunned at the same time, so you can only pick one. Okay, 3C, loosely translated as Eternal Night, Secluded Solitary. The CD is a 3-10 skills at a range of 2 blocks. AoE type is physical single target. It has both passive and active. So for passive, the effects follow. Number 1, when unit HP is at 100%, you receive the following effect. First, increase mobility by +2. Second, AoE damage received will be reduced by 80%. So for old-time players, notice the resemblance between Elvis and Epsilon. It's like a upgraded and easier trigger version of Epsilon. And because it's not a faction buffer, not a usual 2C faction buffer, he has more slots for offensive attacks. So it's pretty cool. When your unit HP is 100%, +2 to your mobility and AoE damage reduction of 80%. So if you have terrorists in your team, you can easily maintain or achieve this state. Alright, active skills. Number 1, attack and deal 1.7 times damage to target enemy. Number 2, when you kill target enemy, you obtain the following buff effect. First, when you initiate attack, ignore guard. Second, obtain death DD, death buff effect from talent. Third, whole effect cannot be dispelled and lasts for 1 turn. Number 3, if this attack is not being guarded, the following will happen. First, increase damage deal by 30%. Second, after the battle, reduce all damage skill CD by 1 turn. Number 4, close combat soldiers unit you bring will attack together and you will not take close combat penalty. So yep, it's 1.7 times damage. It's pretty much, and if you manage to kill off the enemies, you obtain the second and third effect from your talent. When you initiate attack, you ignore guard, and also death DD effect, which I'm gonna repeat again, is Elvis will not be able to be targeted for attacks and skills from enemies, but the effects will be removed when you either receive damage or when you initiate attack and goes into battle. Then you'll be able to act again, and buff turn will not be reduced. So yeah, so this 3C, I won't say it's a reset, it re-provides him his talents effect, and at the same time the synergy with his talent, because if the attack has not been guarded, this skill's damage is increased by 30%, so it's definitely not just 1.7 times. And not to mention, you don't have to really kill the enemy to gain this, as long as your attack ignores guard. After battle, all damage skills you have will be reduced by 1 turn CD, so that's, yeah, pretty cool. And that's it for talent skills 3C of Elvis. And now we're going to the last part. We'll be talking about the pros and cons of his effect and ways to build him and ways to abuse him. Here we go. So alright, welcome back to part 3, last part of the video. We'll be talking about the pros and cons and other tips for, well, making Elvis strong. Before we carry on, the great information provided by the Langrisser data bank, 夢幻永真資料庫. Here we go. So alright, again, the bond unlocking criteria is much easier because you only need Tabriz for unlocking his defensive bonds, whereas for his attack bonds, all you need to do is unlock his demon class. That will be all. Okay, the following is the casting material he needs. And this is the path stats, max stats. So as you can see, the demon class has better stats overall, but in terms of HP and defense, but overall the attack stats are all the same. Oh, sorry, something to correct is for unlocking his attack bond, all you need to do is master his flyer class instead of demon class. Alright, for his hard bond effect, level 4 and level 7. Okay, for flyer class, so this one is for flyer class and this is for demon class. So flyer class, when you're in danger zone, crit rate received reduced by 10%. Then level 7, when unit has 5 or more buff, damage dealt in battle increased by 10%. Okay, for demon class, AoE damage you take reduced by 10%. Then for level 7, when you initiate attack and when you initiate attack against enemy with HP value higher than your unit, when you go into battle, increase damage dealt by 10%. In this case, I would say the flyer class Hardbond is better. It's more generic. Okay, so now we'll be talking about the buff effect from his talent. So, Elvis talent, when you enter and you're in danger zone, you will obtain 2 independent buff. As you can see in the following picture, I'm going to zoom in a while. So, when you initiate attack, you ignore guard and also your death deals effect. So as you can see, it's the first 2 icon that looks a bit like flaming sphere. So the first effect says when you initiate attack, ignore guard. The second is death deals, unable to be targeted for normal attack, and skills targeting. After receiving damage or when you initiate attack and go into battle, remove this effect. And when you act again, buff turn effect will not be reduced, and both effects cannot be dispelled. Okay, the following is how you can abuse this talent's abilities when you fight against characters like a transformed version of LLR Vargas, Juggernaut form. So okay, I'm going to zoom in and show this clip. Okay, if you guys notice, there is a red color 2 appearing on the first buff icon of LL Vargas, aka the Dragon Slayer. So any enemies who enter 3 blocks within his range will receive an attack from him, but because Elvis is in stealth mode, he will not be targeted for it. Okay, the first one is the pros, the second is the cons. It's for PV players. When Elvis has death deals effect, if he moves within the danger zone or the so-called attack zone of Dragon Slayers, the calculations counts as Elvis will first enter and lose his death deals 1 turn effect, and after losing the buff, he'll be attacked by the Dragon Slayers and going to attack. Okay, let's recheck. So this is only the first time when you try to move towards advance in on danger zone. So after the second times, because the effect only lasts for 1 turn, so the second time when you enter, this will trigger and happen first. And when Elvis have his death deals, when receiving damage or when he initiate attack, he will remove this effect. However, this will not affect the buff effect to allow him to ignore gut. So after removing this effect, he can act again, and then his buff turn will not be reduced. And the death pack effects, the only way to break this effect aside from you try to initiate attack is non-targeting AoE type skills that will break your stealth mode. So this is like he's only scared about like non-targeting AoE, as you can see here, and also from the Big Princess Heaven Sanctuary, or from Lana's Heaven Sanctuary. However, fixed damage from Purgatory Demon Core will not cause Elvis to lose his death pack effect. So okay, this is definitely a pro. Initially I thought this is considered AoE, but it's not. So as you can see, Elvis still retains his invisible and non-targeting buff. Okay, another downside is when Elvis has the buff effect that stops him from gaining buff effect, even if he's in danger zone, he will not be able to obtain his talent buff effect. So as you can see here, and another pro side, he has a great combo with LLR Ice Queen Imelda when receiving the whip from Ice Cream Imelda's talent you release on Elvis, you can trigger his Death Disc Act Again effect. So as you can see, Elvis in this clip has already entered, so Ice Cream Imelda whip him and he act again. So that's pretty cool. Okay, things to take note is upon receiving AoE attack, you lose your Death Disc Act Again effect. So take note in PvP. So one example they use here is receiving the AoE skills from Sword of Light and Shadow. So you can see, upon being damaged, he will lose his Death Disc effect. He will not be able to act again. Okay, however, if he's being hit by AoE terrain skills effect, he will not be affected after he loses his Death Disc effect. It will not affect his act again. So as you can see, the clip below shows that Elvis is being hit by Suffering Tracy after losing his Death Disc. Even if Elvis is in the terrain, he's still not being affected by the terrain to stop him from act again. He can still act again as per normal. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is a bug or a rule. Okay, The following is the list of skills Elvis has. We'll find out more during the demo play. Okay, nothing much about 3C, just talking about the effects that you gain is +2 mobility and AoE reduction of 80%. However, the great news is that his talent effect, passive effect that allows you to gain +2 mobilities is an independent buff, so you can stack with buff effect from breeze or from tenure headdress +3 mobility. So as you can see, they can be stacked. So alright, that's it. We have come to the end. This is the suggested enchantment for both PvP and PvE for Elvis. So weapon, it's definitely Ragnarok because you do fixed damage before battle. Then you can go with Last Ride, our helm, and for accessories there's quite a few options. Then these are the few soldiers that you may bring, and for PvP it's suggested to go with Clock Enchantment because you can, well, spam your skills. You can keep spam your 3C and recast your talent abilities, so why not? So these are ratings, and what did you guys think? Leave it down in the comment sections below, and see you guys on part 2 of video featuring Leia. This is Kami, see you guys, and goodbye.